The speedometer needle was pointing at 60. I should have been turning by now. Before I could really slow down, the car pulled back, and I made a few turns, and Rita hardly noticed my appearance. They were kissing, and it was so disgusting, as if they wanted to devour each other. The twisted face of our mutual friend, Nastya, spoke volumes. She noticed me first and skipped over to the car. Opening the front door, she sat down next to the driver's seat and put her arm around me and said, "God, I'm so glad to see you. You can't imagine how tired I am of them." A friend blurted out, "I can imagine. I've been looking at it for less than a minute, and the dumplings themselves are about to climb up." Nastya laughed. But Rita and Gleb finally pulled away from each other. "Don't be jealous," the girl screamed. "Why be jealous? Your saliva exchange." Nastya stood up for me. "Are you going to go at all, or should we wait a little longer?" I had to shout at them. They didn't say anything, just silently walked over to the car and got in the back. "Well, haven't you changed your mind?" Rita abruptly changed the subject. "No, you haven't changed your mind. I'm like everyone else," Nastya replied dejectedly. After the latter expressed her consent, I carefully drove out of the yard and, once on the road, immediately began to step on the gas pedal. It's night. There aren't many cars on the road. There's nothing to delay. Let's start faster. Let's finish faster. The right location appeared from afar. I quickly found a parking spot, parked the car, and turned off the engine. There were no residential buildings or organizations near our parking lot, and there were no public transport stops nearby. So no one will interfere with us. "All right, let's go." Gleb addressed everyone at the same time. "Wait," Nastya said uncertainly. "What's to wait for?" He was having fun. "Nastya, really? What are you doing?" "She wanted to," Rita asked. "Yes, there was just one case not so long ago. My friend is missing here. At least he was going to go to that factory that evening. That was the last time anyone saw him," Nastya said, and immediately everyone stared at her. "Take a closer look at this place," Gleb demanded. "And why didn't you mention this before? Anyway, there was a neighbor on my floor, Eugene. His door was opposite mine, but that's not the point. Anyway, I ran into him in the vestibule. He said, 'If anything, I will go to the factory of the Red Guard.' I remember shrugging my shoulders and going about my business. The neighbor was a strange guy, so I didn't pay much attention to it. In general, I was told that either spirits or some kind of entities live in this factory, and if a person enters its territory at night, then that's it. You can't get out alive. And did, too. Your neighbor is a drug addict. Of course he's weird. And he obviously didn't disappear because he came here." Gleb turned to Nastya. "Perhaps. And yet there are a lot of bad rumors. I think it's all bullshit, but you can sit in the car if you're so afraid," he suggested to her. Nastya refused, arguing that it was even scarier to be alone, even in a car. I slowly began to lose my patience and firmly stated, "So let's go. Why did we just come here?" "That's right. It seems to me that someone doesn't really need the money," Rita quipped. That's it. Let's go," Nastya muttered in a broken voice. Somewhere in the back of my mind, I really shared her concern, but the thirst for profit was still winning. I don't know what changed, but for some reason, I suddenly didn't want to go there, because I had plenty of desire before the evening. It all started about a week ago, when Gleb and I decided to visit the factory to get some flowers. According to the rumors, there are plenty of them in this abandoned building. He's smarter than us though, because he went after the loot earlier in the day. But we decided to sneak in here at night, thinking that it would be safer that way and no one would see or disturb us. We were going there for a week, and I was already calculating in my mind how much money I would receive after handing over my finds to the metal collection point. But now, I don't feel like coming here at all. But here's the money. They were the ones that bothered me. It so happened that I had already divided the skin of an unkilled bear in advance, and he considered it stupid to abandon her because of some women. Still, the closer we got to the abandoned complex, the more I got the feeling that something was going to go wrong. And as I approached the entrance, my hands began to go numb with fear. "Guys, wait," Nastya called out to us. "Let's not go. It's starting. You'd better sit in the car, okay?" Gleb snapped at her. Nastya remained silent at his remark and stopped. "Why are you falling apart? Let's stand on the lookout with you, have a chat. But there will be something to remember," Rita encouraged her. Nastya gave up and, bowing her head, dragged herself after us. Rita ran a little ahead and, grabbing Gleb by the hand, walked next to him. I felt a little sorry for my friend. Maybe she should have stayed home today. And not just her. But there was nothing to do. A deal is more expensive than money, as they say. I took Nastya by the arm and walked towards the first workshop. To tell the truth, I didn't really believe in these old wives' tales, but the fact that we went here at night, and the story about Nastya's neighbor who disappeared here, albeit not very well, did their job. On the way to the workshop, it always seemed to me that some terrible shit was about to jump out from around the corner, and my head would immediately turn gray. Suddenly, Nastya stopped and asked, "Have they already come in?" I looked ahead and realized that either we were walking too slowly or these two were running headlong, hiking. Suddenly, a familiar silhouette appeared in the window opening. Gleb shouted at us to come here and waved at the same time. We walked into the room slowly, and while we were walking in, we looked around worriedly. Nastya must have felt the same way I did. "It's scary." Suddenly, there was a scream from the darkness. Nastya screamed, and I instinctively hit the door behind which our friend was standing, but I realized it too late. A strong impact, and then a rumble came from the opposite side. "What are you doing?" "Stop it," he screamed, holding his nose. "Why the f would you scare me like that?" I had to help a moron friend get to his feet. After that, we were able to go directly to the production itself. All the equipment rested under a thick layer of dust. It was even hard to imagine that people had once worked here and that something had been produced. "So, let's you and Nastya start from here, and Rita and I will go the other way," Gleb said matter-of-factly. "This way, we can find more and get out of here early." "What?" "Yes. We just had to stand on the lookout," Nastya screamed. "Reith, tell him." "Well, yes, probably," she muttered uncertainly. "What, probably?" "Reith, what the fuck? I'm not going anywhere. And anyway," she wanted to say something else, but she didn't have time. It was unclear where the shrill and at the same time deafening sound of a siren came from, and at the same time, flashes of bright red appeared, which went out after a split second and then lit up again. In the short time that the lights were on, I saw my friends in front of me. They were running somewhere in a panic, and I managed to notice genuine fear on their faces in those, quote, split seconds. I was overwhelmed by a wave of panic and horror. My heart was pounding like a jackhammer. It seemed like a little more, and it could tear the chest and fall to the floor. There was not enough air. My legs felt like cotton wool, but I was trying to get out of here somewhere. Access to the stairs or the window. That's what I needed at that moment. But then something unexpected happened, and I suddenly lost consciousness. "Ivanov, why aren't you there?" It was heard somewhere in the distance. "What happened to you?" I could feel the skin burning on my cheeks in the truest sense of the word. A heavy hand was slapping my face. I didn't immediately understand what was going on and mumbled something like, "What happened?" "Yes, the workshop master is looking for you over there." As soon as I heard that answer, I immediately opened my eyes and propped myself up on my elbows. What kind of workshop master? What's it? I can't believe my eyes. How is this even possible? The production facility, which had been abandoned for a hell of a lot of years, had a life of its own. The lights were on in the shop itself. People in overalls were running back and forth. Machines were rumbling, and workers were shouting. In general, it's a normal working day. I wanted to ask what year it was, but I saw a wall calendar, and he bit his tongue in time. June 1972. Well, how? I feel sick. My head is spinning. I immediately complained about my condition, to which the man in overalls replied, "Well, that's understandable. Now you'll lie down on the couch, and there you'll wait for our doctor." I didn't mind for several reasons. Firstly, I really felt bad. I hit my head hard. And secondly, I still didn't understand what to do here at all. Rita slowly opened her eyes. She was not thinking clearly, and for this reason, she could not soberly assess the situation. A strange sound, coupled with an incomprehensible sensation, brought her back to consciousness, though not soon. And when Rita realized what was going on, she began to scream furiously and twitch her limbs with all her might, but nothing happened. Her mouth was gagged with some dirty, smelly cloth, and her hands were tightly bound with chains or ropes. Because of the darkness and a piece of cloth that covered not only her mouth, but also half of her face, it was not possible to see these shackles properly. The girl was driving slowly along the conveyor belt, and she was driving straight under a huge hydraulic press. A minute passed, then two. Although for Rita, that time seemed like an eternity. And when she was already right in this device, the huge cylinder slowly descended directly on her. She screamed, shook her head, and tried to break free, but in vain. The cylinder was descending on her frail body. Bones turned to dust under such a weight, and the skin burst, exposing human flesh. The organs lost their structure, and as the pressure of the press increased, some of them showed out. When the cylinder rose up, it was followed by a mess of human remains and thin threads, and on its surface there was a mixture of blood, skin, and fragments of organs of the deceased. Well, what else do you want to do with it? It's okay, it's a marriage, definitely in the trash. That's it, right away. Glimp overheard a conversation between two strangers. He thought he was dreaming another delusion, but when he remembered where he was, he immediately opened his eyes. He, like Rita, was tied up, but he didn't have the same cloth in his mouth. When he saw the two workers in front of him, he screamed, "Hey, what are you? What are you doing? Untie me." They didn't even look back at his screams. Only one asked the other, "Well, unlaunching it?" "What's to wait for? Launch it." One guy in a blue lab coat pressed a button, and in an instant, there was a monotonous clang. The guy tried to fall on his side and somehow get out of this room. But as soon as he fell, 4 strong arms picked him up and threw him into that very compartment. The steel and cold blades slashed his leg hard, causing him great pain. Hot blood gushed from the wound, almost, quote, immediately. Numerous cuts appeared on the guy's body. Some of them were deep, some were not very deep. From behind the door came the heart-rending screams of someone who had been thrown by 2 workers with their own hands. They saw, heard, and realized everything. It's just that the workers of this production did not like it at all when someone else entered the territory. Nastya was sitting in a corner and crying quietly. She was in pain to the point of stupefaction. However, she couldn't scream, or rather she could, but then she would immediately let herself be discovered. And that was completely unnecessary. A weight fell on her and, fortunately, did not completely crush her, but only touched her legs. A huge metal sheet rapidly descended on the girl from the crane of the beam. Although it did not fall as it should have, it only touched the tibia, and it was supposed to fall flat on her body, not with an edge. As soon as the weight fell on the girl and she realized that she had miraculously survived, she took all her willpower into her fist so as not to scream in pain. At that moment, she bit her cheeks until they bled, and the few workers who watched the incident after the incident scattered about their business. Nastya lay under this burden for a long time. Then she managed to get out, not without difficulty. And so she somehow crawled through the corridors and rooms of the workshop, which seemed to have no end. I lay there and stared at the ceiling, keeping my hand in my jeans pocket. Just in case, I had a small screwdriver in my pocket. I don't remember exactly why I didn't leave it in the car, but now I was incredibly glad of it. Feeling for a screwdriver in my pocket, it was somehow calmer. Although, how will this help me get out of here? The sound of high heels came from the hallway. A few seconds later, either a doctor or a nurse came into the office. She was young and very beautiful. To be honest, my bad mood took off. "Hello, what is it that hurts?" she chirped merrily. "Hello, but my head is spinning." "Headaches are bothering you then. I'll think about what I can do," she said thoughtfully and walked around the office, back and forth. "Headaches are bothering you then. I'll think about what I can do," she said thoughtfully and walked around the office, back and forth, holding her chin with 2 fingers. She pretended to be thoughtful. "I'll have to cut off your head," the paramedic stated quite calmly. "What?" I asked in disbelief. "Don't you have a headache? I can't help you anymore," I shouted in the face of this reptile and headed out of the office when suddenly I felt an unbearable pain under my shoulder blade. "No one allowed you to leave here?" She was still speaking calmly, and I realized where I really was. I turned back in one motion, and just in time. A pair of disproportionately large scissors whizzed over my head. I don't know what kind of woman she was, but she easily laid me on my shoulder blades and twisted me into some kind of knot. I tried to resist, but nothing came out. "Don't twitch. Do you hear me? Or it will get worse," she said, while somehow holding my whole body in the same position. Giant scissors kept flashing in front of my face. I don't know how I managed to get a screwdriver out of my pocket and stick it right in that bitch's eye. She immediately loosened her grip and fell to the floor with a wild cry. Knowing full well that they were going to run away at her screech, I didn't waste a second rushing out of the office, forgetting about the pain under my shoulder blade. And he was right. Literally immediately, the workers filled almost all the free space, but fortunately, there was nothing ahead. "He ran away! He ran away!" she screamed at the top of her voice. I ran through the first door I saw without thinking. It was pitch dark in here, but I had to get out somehow. I examined the whole room very carefully, and during the inspection I came across some kind of door. After listening, it dawned on me that there was no one behind her, or there shouldn't be. I quietly pulled the handle and saw Nastya. We were overjoyed with each other, but we still chose not to scream with joy because it was dangerous. I was happy to tell my friend about my rescue, as I only got off with a wound, but she saddened me. I had no desire to leave her alone in this goddamned place. But the truth is, it would be easier to get out alone than with her. Her legs didn't move at all, and her right leg was also very swollen. She probably has a closed fracture. "We have to get out somehow," Nastya muttered in a drooping voice. "Of course, I just have to do something with you. I'm going to crawl. Somehow. I don't know, but if we don't get out of here now, we're unlikely to get out of this damn factory in principle." Let's do it another way." With these words, I went up to Nastya and threw her over my shoulder. She didn't protest, but just moaned. Leaning my ear against the door, I realized that I could get out. I gently pushed her in front of me for our good fortune. The hallway was empty. I had to literally sneak around so as not to make unnecessary noises. I walked down the hallway and tried to remember how we got in here. It's like we weren't even here. Oh, and time. Should we jump out the window? Nastya asked. I looked out the carriage door with some apprehension and saw that it was full of factory employees. There were no workers there, and that as soon as you were going to leave through ventilation or sewage, we could at least jump out the window and break your legs. And not only, and you can't walk by yourself. Okay, whatever you say. Suddenly, I discovered that we had come out of the corridor into a passage between buildings. It was quite long and poorly lit, so it was impossible to see what was in the other building. My internal state has noticeably deteriorated. I can't go back because I'm sure the friendly staff is waiting for me there, and there's only the unknown ahead. But there wasn't much choice. We had to get out of here, and the sooner the better. Suddenly, I felt a slight prick in my right leg. That made me look back. Nastya couldn't call out to me, and I immediately understood why. The crowd followed us silently. They could be confused with ordinary people, local workers, but no, there was something wrong with their faces. I was literally numb with horror when I realized what was going on. Unnaturally gray skin, covered with deep wrinkles, bruises under the eyes, and a half-open mouth through which their disproportionately crooked and long teeth could be seen. I stopped dead from what I saw. My body just went numb. His mind refused to believe what was happening. It seemed to me that it was sinew, thereby pulling me out of my stupor. Yes, now, I mumbled and moved from my place, but there was nowhere to run. Right from the dark end of the passage, a crowd of exactly the same freaks was coming at us. Everything danced in front of my eyes, and my body wouldn't listen to me. I staggered, but managed to stand on my own 2 feet. Window, jumped through the window. Nastya drank with all her might. I couldn't feel my legs, so I ran to the windowsill and smashed the glass with my elbow. Small fragments scattered around, letting cool air into the room. "Hurry up," my friend's voice came to me. I had nothing to say, and time was not on our side. On shaky legs, I somehow climbed onto the damn windowsill and fell straight into the street through a hole in the glass. For a moment, just before I fell, I felt a lot of resistance. The excruciating pain lasted for a few seconds, and then it abruptly turned dark. Alive! Well, thank God. My mother's anguished cry rang out next to me. When I opened my eyes, I saw my mother's tear-stained face and 2 people in white coats in front of me. They found several fractures, concussions, and a deep wound right under my shoulder blade. As it turned out later, I was gone for a week. For a week, I didn't show up at home or at school, and not one night as it seemed before. But unlike my friends, I was only gone for a week. Nastya, Rita, and Gleb will never come back. The police and search and rescue teams searched for them for several months, and yet they could not be found. And only I knew that their search was useless, that there's nothing to help these people anymore. The only thing the search engines could find was a silver cross. He was lying near a broken window. That's when I realized what that feeling of resistance was. My friend was simply dragged by the undead into the hall of this abandoned factory. Where has she stayed forever? With Gleb, Rita, and other missing people in that place.